Shalom wa baraka mispacha, peace and blessings, family. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 levels of consciousness. First, before we start, I want to define the word consciousness. Conscious, to become aware of one's surroundings. In other words, to be awake, or as we say in Hebrew. I made a list, universal list, of the 5 levels of consciousness based off of my own knowledge. Not my own experience, off of my own knowledge. Because if I had an experience, if I just wrote my experience down, it wouldn't be universal. This is for everyone who's conscious. If you have not went through these levels of consciousness, you, my friend, are not conscious. Here's the first level of consciousness. The matrix. A sheep-like state. A sleep-like state. Moving with the world. Believing everything you hear without researching it yourself. A people pleaser. An asker of no questions. So when you're on level 1, you're not really conscious at all. You're worrying about pleasing everyone else. You're worrying about fitting in. You're not asking any questions. You are moving with the world and you believe everything you hear. No matter if it's in church, you don't go home and read the scriptures for yourself. It's at school, you don't do the research for yourself. And you sit there in front of that TV. And you're being visually programmed. That's why it's called television program. And you watch the news. And then you believe every single thing you hear on that news channel. So that's level 1 right there. You believe that all you need to be happy is money. You believe that all you need to survive is an American education. You believe that the police and the government is here to protect you, and you believe that America loves you, you're level 1. Level 2, the realization that something is wrong. At this state, you begin to question things that you have been taught all your life. You become more aware of your surroundings. You take your blindfold off and begin to look around and research. So at this state, this is when you start suspecting things. This is your suspicious state. You ask questions. You do some research. You know, you realize that your phone that you always play Candy Crush on and Subway Surfers, you realize that this is actually a small computer. And whatever you have a question on, you can just research it. This is the state where you have learned things in your life, but you are just now asking questions. And this is the state where you start looking stupid because you ask those questions. So my first question was, I was in church. This book has 66 books in it that y'all reading out of. Yet y'all only reading certain books and y'all giving the same message every Sunday. I asked those questions and the pastor did not like those questions. But it was worth it because knowledge is worth it. Okay, that's the second stage. You become aware of your surroundings. You start seeing things. You start saying, man, you start realizing that this government don't like you. You start realizing that America don't like you, so-called Negro. That's what you start realizing. Okay, and then the third level of consciousness is the self-realization state. You find out your true value. You find out about the original people. You love your skin color, your hair texture, who you are, and for example, black pride, black is beautiful, and you know yourself. You have completely realized that you have been lied to. So at this third level, you start loving yourself. Because you have started doing that research in level 2, and it led you to level 3, and you say, man, the first man on earth was black? Wow. You start saying, wow, we don't get lice. Wow, we don't need sunscreen. Wow, we're the most athletic people. We're the best at music. Wow, you start, this is my favorite state because at this stage, I finally had something to be proud of. If you haven't went through the self-love state, you are definitely not conscious. This is one of the most important states. Now, the fourth stage of consciousness, the self-identification state. You began to classify yourself by a nationality. As a people, our original nationality has been taken away. You kept doing research in level 3 and you find out your true nationality. which has been taken away from you. And when you find out your true nationality, that's a really good thing. Because you begin to know yourself. First you loved yourself, now you know yourself. There's a difference between loving yourself and knowing yourself, and there's a difference between self-realization and self-identification. Okay, now this is the 5th stage. This stage is also very important, okay? 5th stage, the culturalization state. The state in which you know your nationality, so you begin to take on the customs and practices of the race in which you identify yourself with. This includes clothing, laws, doctrines, and belief systems. This is the longest level and or a permanent state if you are in commitment with the truth. So during level 4, you start saying, wow, I found out who I am. So I'm wondering, what did our ancestors do before slavery? And when you start researching that, it leads you to level 5, the culturalization state. You began to keep the law that you kept, that your ancestors kept. You start dressing the way your ancestors dressed and speaking the language that your ancestors spoke. This is level 5. And it says doctrines and belief systems. You start taking on those as well. Your doctrines will change during level 5. Level 5 is a very long state. In fact, if you are in commitment with the truth, level 5 is a permanent state. So, I've been a level 5 for 2 years. I've been keeping the Torah for 2 years now. I've been dressing like an Israelite for 2 years now. I have fringes on all my clothes for 2 years now. So, this is commitment. This is the commitment state, the cultural state, okay? And as always, I have a scripture. The book of Yashayahu, or Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that a remnant of Yasharallah, or Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more stay in upon them that smote them. So they shall no more fear them that smote them. They should no longer fear their oppressors, okay? Because you're not going to be afraid of the so-called white man that's above you forever. But shall stay upon the Most High. They shall fear the Most High, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty Elohim. So a remnant of us will turn back to the Most High. And if we reach level 5 and we've been committed and we accepted the covenant and we are keeping the Most High's laws and Torah, we are the remnant and we are the real ones that are conscious. And with that, I would like to say, Shalom wa barakah, Miss Pacha.